let's think about next. What are the non-functional requirements and how they are actually connected with this feature and functional requirement thing? So here is our example of bank, and this is front page when you have logged in as a test person or whatever evaluator. So there is some information visible on the screen when you are first logged in. We were talking about that there is some concept of functional requirements. So there is plenty of requirements for user that user can see own account numbers and how much there is in how much cash there is on your account. What is the latest situation, and then you can see in this case Visa, debit, credit situation, how much there is spent already. You can see things, you can find your name on the top of corner, so you can understand now that there is plenty of functional requirements around this. And if we add all these small items, just make sure that you understand that if there is a functional requirement, user can see account number from the screen, and user can see also the latest state of the account from the right side, and there is a link to fast link to new payment. There is a link for the paste instruction. There is link to apply for loan, so you can immediately understand that this is full of small functions. And we could say that this front page is one feature in this case. So front page functionalities are visible here. So we have a normal user who is active with the services, modern services, working and using them as a part of normal life. If we are looking his point of view, this service, these functions are very important for him, but he use of some of those, and some of those are not so relevant. But anyway, there is no such a problems as we are dealing with situation when we are older and we don't use these tools every day. There is plenty of things that it's difficult to understand or understand whole user interface at all, and that's why I just bring this idea that there is something between these persons, and can we make these services much accessible, for example old people, instead of just focusing on this small group of the high level users who are really in a level that it's like a normal life for them, instead of having never heard of. And that's the one thing, is that functional requirements are not describing directly that how these things and elements should be taken care of from the point of the different customer. That's why I bring you now the one very important area. It's called non-functional requirements, and I have added here a lot of different concepts, and I just show you first the list of all. So these are non-functional requirements, and one requirement type is accessibility. our usability is another, and when we are looking at the list, there is plenty of things which are related somehow. Response time, stability, testability, security, performance. These are quite simple to understand, but when you take some of these elements on this table, for example, this accessibility, this is one type of requirement. So I take this one, I can change this, just naming it differently. So I make it looking like a accessibility requirement. So now we have a new kind of requirement, and these are non-functional requirements. And when you are thinking of this old person here and you just try to figure out what is changing when you have a little bit more age than our common user, it can also affect on some elements of the screen. And if I put it this way, that if you want to see better what is there, now I expect that you cannot see, so it means that there is possibility to zoom, for example, the screen easier, or use some kind of text font size that is simple to see. This could be one example though. So accessibility requirement could be like that font size can be changed by the user, or color set could be something which is very simple to read. Extra effects and things are taken away, just giving the basic information simple and pure way. So they are very simple to understand, and understand how they should somehow flow when you are using. So some needs according that how this service is more accessible. In this case, I expect that this is somehow very simple and convenient for all kind of persons, but in some cases these kind of requirements are really needed to make sure that the service is built in a way that there is someone who is not using it in every day, or having this same understanding like people who are heavy users for electrical services. So these accessibility requirements are also involved with this feature. So we can add this kind of requirement: user interface, font size must be able to set in a simple format. Color set or theme can be set in high contrast mode. There cannot be problem when you are colorblind. You have to be able to set the screen in a way that it's working fine with the color blind people. So these are the requirements which are also describing the feature with these functional requirements. And when we are taking another element, I just take this as example. I take away one area and I put here security requirement. It can be also one addition to feature description. What are the security requirements? It means that there is somehow, when you are opening this page, you have to be logged in. It's natural that, of course, you have to be logged in a page if you want to see these elements. But when you are signing out, it's somehow very important that all information is hidden and it's cleaned away from the browser's memory. So these security requirements could be just for this feature front page set by that every time when you are signing out from the service. For example, this front page, all this information is lost and it cannot be recovered by going back using this back button. So the requirement could be that if user tries to recover information by using back button in the browser, it's forbidden. It has to be cleared. And security requirement could be when signing out, browser memory is refreshed and cleared. And that's the one security requirement. It sounds like a functional requirement, but it's mainly focusing on securing the users and the service to be in a safe, and that's why the security requirements are deal with a little bit different kind of attitude. They are affecting in many areas, and when we are dealing with the idea that if this is just focused on one feature, for example this front page area here, it's quite important to understand this security requirement is actually connecting with the whole service. So you have to make sure that when you are making your feature, you have to take care of this security in this front page functionality. So all these functions here, what you are dealing with, are somehow involved with the security. So that's why it's not there is no sense that just put these security requirements connected with one feature, because they are quite many cases they are really affecting for whole service instead of just small item there. But there can be things that, for example, the sign out, automated sign out can be 1 hour, 1 minute or 2 minutes or 3 hours, whatever. There has to be some kind of requirement which is decided by the people who are in charge of usability on things, that what is the good value for this sign out, auto sign out, for example. So these values are defined. It's possible that there is a standard, but I expect that there is some kind of understanding what is the good for users in the normal positions. Because if it's signing out in 1 minute, it can be quite frustrating because you are searching for some background data information and you are signed out immediately in 1 minute. So what is the good timing? It depends on service. But there is also possibility to set up this sign out period, and it's somehow connected with security, but it's also part of the functionality. So that's why it's so difficult to say which one is the functional requirement, which one is security requirement, because you have to just make your own selection and make sure that they are implemented in your service in a way that they are serving perfectly the users. This is the one point of view that if you just think about different users and then you look at the security requirements again, and you notice immediately that there is plenty of things which are not so simple to understand. For example, older user of this service, and we have to raise these issues by describing some requirements and make sure that these are implemented also as a part of the service, because no one can make sure that the user is really understanding the whole big picture, how it's working and how it should be working, used. As we were looking at that picture below, there is a lot of this other, and another interesting in this course point of view is, for example, performance. If we think about this service from the user point of view, old person is many times they are not expecting so fast accessibility to information. They are just waiting for a while and be happy. Of course, this is not such thing in every case, but younger people are eager to get the service up and running fast and get the information and do the things what they want. And that's why we have to find out how this user interface or this service had to be built, how fast it should be that it's nice and convenient for the user. For example, when you are logging in, how long time it should take in normal situation, how many seconds logging in should be working. So these performance issues are coming on the board when you are really thinking that how much time goes for certain kind of functions to deliver from the service. For example, creating some kind of report or changing some bigger amount of some of values in your service, what you are changing some kind of big amount of metadata things, for example in database. And if it takes a lot of time, it can be mandatory that user sees the problems in the user interface, that it takes time to deliver some things. And worst case, when there's a lot of users, they all are using the same kind of functionalities together, and that change makes it insane difficult to run it in a high performance, because all these users are making a lot of load on the service. That's why we need different kind of requirements. Feature with the functional requirements is just a feature, a very simple version, and then when we add this accessibility, security, performance, whatever, and then we are understanding more and more how these elements of the service should be working. And I put this performance also as a part of the one feature. In some cases, these features are really needing this kind of requirements, so because then they are understandable by the developer or the people who are delivering this feature, when they have an understanding what kind of users and what kind of implementation in the user interface, for example, should be taken care of because of certain kind of users, what are the primary functions what we have to deliver, what kind of security issues we have to make sure that they are not existing in this feature implementation, what kind of performance issues we have to understand or make sure that this feature is running in a large situation also in a smooth way. So performance is coming in a case that there is one user, but instead of that there is 1,000 users and they are using the same kind of things. So this feature here is described by using a lot of other requirements much better, and then we have this understanding how things should work in an ideal world. Implementation and reality shows then how we can do it, but anyway, let's move these elements back to this list, and you should look at a little bit more about these non-functional requirements when you want to understand. But in this course, we are focusing on security, accessibility, and performance only. These are the most important, I presume, which I prefer. Okay, thanks. Bye.